him, and we subsequently worked on it until we got it published. Mike moved back to the house near St. Louis, where he grew up, so his parents could take care of him. Lynn and I started to visit on a regular basis and do what we could to help. We went on a few hikes with them and took Mike on a few with just us. But much as Mike loved getting out into the natural areas of Missouri, it got harder and harder to do so. Within a couple of years, Mike, the man who led so many others on hikes into the most remote parts of the country, couldn't even stand on his own. He then used a wheelchair to go on hikes, but even those adventures reminded us of how challenging life can be for disabled people, especially those with ALS. Ultimately, Mike could barely move at all on his own. He lost the ability to swallow or drink. His parents had to perform all self-care activities for him. I got a sense of their sacrifice one spring when Jean had surgery, and I assisted by going over to their house early in the mornings to help get Mike up and dressed. He always wanted to look presentable for any visitors, asked to keep having a shower every other day, and using his eyes, picked out his clothes for the day. That's just one example of how he never gave in to the disease. Neither did his parents. And they never complained or made him feel bad about their sacrifice, not once. Over the last few years of his life, the only thing Mike could control were his eyes, so he used them. He wrote. Boy, did he write! Mike wrote 2 other books and nearly finished this one, all after getting the disease. Using just his eyes and an eye-tracking machine, he would pick out letters to make words and sentences. He would sit at his computer screen every morning and afternoon with a nap in between and write about the parks and the forces like climate change that are affecting them. This entire book was written with his eyes. It was exhausting work and took him full hours to write a single paragraph. Why did he do it? Because he cared. Like I said, he loved the parks, and he was doing what he could for them in gratitude for what they did for him. Mike conveys those memories in his writing with such beauty that it will make just about anybody want to go for a park adventure. At times, his writing makes me think of John Muir, since, in at least some ways, Mike was to Yellowstone what Muir was to Yosemite. Just as Muir embraced every part of Yosemite, Mike embraced every part of Yellowstone. One of his claims to fame is that he hiked all 1,200 miles of trails in the park. He knew it intimately. At other times, his writing is like that of the aforementioned Edward Abbey, full of passion for the natural world and anger at those who are abusing it. And finally, this last book of Mike's reminds me of Norman Maclean, who was trying desperately to stay alive long enough to understand and write about what happened during a forest fire at Man Gulch, Montana in 1949, and produce the legendary Young Men and Fire. Mike also used his eyes in conversations, particularly when he told a joke. That may sound strange, but he never lost his sense of humor. His eye-tracking machine, like the one Stephen Hawking used, allowed him to type in words that could then be spoken. And although he couldn't smile, his eyes seemed to do just that whenever he made a wisecrack or teased one of us. Sometimes he had his lines already keyed up in the computer and would inject them at opportune moments in the conversation. For example, we had this running joke he made just about every time we visited. He would tell us what he had been writing lately and then ask me pointedly, "So, my fine tenured full professor friend, what have you been working on?" Whatever work I had been doing seemed trivial compared to his efforts. Until the very end, he could always make others laugh, even when his active mind was trapped inside a body that was deteriorating. I have never seen such courage before, and likely won't again. I can only hope that I show nearly as much in any challenge I ever face. Mike died on February 29th, 2020. The fact that it was a leap day did not surprise us, a rare day for a rare person. I was honored to serve as a pallbearer at Mike's funeral, along with his brothers and a nephew and a cousin. Indeed, my wife and I had become very